Welcome, everybody. So, in lieu of recent events that we are all experiencing, I'm hoping to offer a few recorded classes so that you can move within the comforts of your own home, especially as we all work together to socially distance ourselves. So, with this, I'm going to forego any props for this round. I'm just going to have you start by laying out your mat, finding any space within your household, even if it is just the teeny tiny hallway that you've got. I've managed to expand our living room here, and I pushed a few objects out of our way so that I have a floor space in which you can hopefully clearly see me with. Cool, so I'm gonna have us get started. We'll park ourselves in this tall, upright sitting position here, and you can just ask your arms to hang heavy anywhere you'd like, whether that be next to you or inside your lap. I'm gonna encourage you to take a moment for yourself, whether that is closing your eyes or keeping them open. I'm gonna take a moment to close mine here as I ask my jaw and my eyebrows to somewhat relax, letting my shoulders become nice and heavy. And I'm going to encourage you to seal your lips and begin to let your breath just enter in and out of your nose. Encouraging it to be more natural, so not necessarily trying to change it to any way, shape, or form. Perhaps we start to enhance the breath by encouraging a bigger breath in through the nose and a pause at the peak. When your body starts to ask you to exhale, I want you to honor that and see if you can let all that breath exit by way of the nose. So think big breath in, perhaps a pause, accompanied by a full exhalation out. And if you were like me and you opted to close your eyes, I'm just going to ask you to blink them back open, coming back to the space of the room. And we're just going to get started moving. So we're going to plant our left hand. I'm not quite sure if I'm mirroring you guys here or not. So we're going to say left hand here and ask your right arm to reach up and over. And within our side stretch, can you encourage a big breath in, accompanied by a breath out? Yeah, we're going to swap sides. We're going to ask the right hand to push the floor away, feeding some resistance as that left arm then goes up and over. And noticing the side stretch and just trying to expand it to some degree by way of your breath, encouraging the rib cage to expand and soften. You're going to come back to the first side, so left hand's going to push the floor away, right arm's going to reach up and over. Now we can opt to hang out right here. If you wanted to add more of a rotational component to the spine, we would ask our chest to roll towards our left thigh. And then we might encourage the chest to roll open towards the ceiling or the sky. And so the chest, think of it rolling down towards your thigh, then peeling it open towards the ceiling. And we'll find our second side, let the right hand press down, encourage left arm to reach. And again, we can hang out right here. If it feels okay, we might add or thread in some rotation through the upper spine, encouraging the chest to roll forwards and then peel upwards. We're going to keep that left arm reaching and just ask it to guide you all the way up tall. And then both hands follow. Encouraging the warm up through our upper body. We're going to create little goalpost arms, so we're bending through the elbows. Yeah, now let's imagine there's a wall directly behind us. We're trying to push our wrists, we can say our forearm or elbows right into that wall, encouraging that nice open space throughout your chest. Perhaps we offer ourselves a breath in and a breath out. Yeah, let's get that space moving. So let's ask those arms to reach up overhead. Then you kind of pull down into those goalpost arms, making it a little bit more challenging. Imagine that you're moving through extremely dense air, right, or like molasses or water. So we can start to just let the arms be somewhat heavy. Let's throw in one last one where the arms go up, the arms come down. Maybe we even guide the hands now back behind our head, right? Creating what the old power pose here. Being mindful that we're not arching in the low back by sort of pushing our belly forward. We want to encourage the low ribs to soften down towards our hips. And perhaps we offer ourselves yet another big breath in, accompanied by your own exhale. And the arms can go back up. The elbows can bend. Let's thread that in a few times around. And the last little thing here while we're sitting, let's go ahead and reach arms out in front of us. I call these their zombie arms for very obvious reasons. And then go ahead and show me your palms. Yeah, just kind of veer away from neutral. Let's rotate those fingertips to face the sides of the walls. We'll ask our fingertips to roll in, the thumbs can tuck, and then the knuckles will shine in and face towards one another. Then we want to kind of reverse that orientation. We'll just encourage that, we'll say a few times around. And what we notice is that it's very minimal movement, but it does create some very big sensation. Talking to all those small little wrist muscles that thread up into the forearm, the elbow, the shoulders. And we can rotate those fingertips down and kind of mimic that same movement. And now this round you're going to be mindful of those elbows. They're absolutely going to want to help by bending, so we're going to encourage the arms to stay straight. Let's do one last round and then we kind of shake all that out. Well, from here we're going to have us come down onto hands and knees into a tabletop, and I'm going to kind of follow you along here. Yeah, and then just working our way down the chain here, we want to find more global movement through the spine, and we can go ahead and achieve that by way of our traditional cat-cow movements. And you can opt to move at whatever speed or tempo that you would like. It could be fast, it could be slow, it could be realistically anywhere in between. And what we might notice is that we're in a fairly stable position here. So if you wanted to, you might encourage yourself to close your eyes. A way of just turning your perspective inwards. It's kind of feeling the movement as it occurs. Now, if this feels good, you can start to throw in any intuitive movement, giving yourself that freedom to, we can say, explore the shape. That could be moving your torso in any which way. That could be dropping down to forearms or repositioning the arms or the hands. Finding any sense of creativity here that you might like to explore. Let's go ahead and offer ourselves, we'll say, just a few more rounds, whatever movement you decided to create. We'll steadily return ourselves right back to what we can call the starting point or our neutral position. From there, if we take a peek at our hands, can we go ahead and spread our fingers nice and wide while pressing down through all fingertips as well as our wrists. And I'm going to have us tuck our toes under. Starting to tap into more of the lower body. Let's challenge our tabletop position by seeing if we can lift our knees up about an inch or so from the floor. I'm going to call this our floating tabletop. And you'll notice that there is absolutely more effort involved here. More work throughout the container of our body. So if this becomes too much, please don't hesitate to tap your knees back down. And following this, we would ask our hips to rock towards our heels. Think of a squat position. And we want to rock our way back forward. So we're essentially just kind of feeding our torso this forward and backward movement, shifting weight from the legs to the hands. And again, if needed, those knees can absolutely anchor and we can still mimic the same movement with knees on the floor. And at a certain point, again, we're going to start to feel some sensation. We'll call it the leg muscles waking up. Nice. Next time your hips are over the heels, let's think of straightening out both legs, connecting to our first downward facing dog. Now, in an effort just to build a strong foundation, we want to continue to spread our fingers, but we'll encourage fingertips and palms to push our mat forward. We'll think as we push our mat forward, can our hips move in the opposing direction behind us? An option again to find either a sense of stillness if you'd like, or explore all the movement you can find in this particular shape. We'll take all that weight off of our wrists as we start to hover our heels high, soften our knees. Perhaps we take a peek at our hands as we start to take a nice little stroll towards the top of our mat. Now you're getting as high up as you can go. Then we'll offer ourselves a round and roll up tall to stand. Those arms can go long for the ride. So not reaching them up, up, up. Think of a nice good morning stretch. With the hands anchor at the heart. If you'd like, perhaps you take a more conscious breath in and out. Conscious just being one that we're a bit more attentive to. More awareness, more attention. The arms relax beside us. Let's think of reaching the arms right back up overhead and perhaps creating a twist off to the left. And with our arms wide in this capital T position, can we ask our shoulders to shrug up towards our ears? We want to use our muscles to now shrug them all the way back down. You'll encourage again, the shoulders go up, 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 and the shoulders go down, down, down. We'll rotate back towards center. Take a twist off to the right. Open arms wide, but this time change the orientation at the shoulder joint. Go ahead and flip your palms down towards the mat, and then flip them to the wall space behind you, getting some internal rotation. Same thing, we might ask our shoulders to shrug all the way up. Encourage them to draw all the way down. Last round, they go up, up, up. Then they go down, down, down. Coming back towards center, we'll fold ourselves forward. Encouraging our knees to bend so our hands make some contact with our mat. Let's step both of our feet into a plank position. Right? We can always opt for knees up, or we can tap those knees of ours down. Finding the variation that is most accessible and suitable for you. And then we'll encourage the pushing away of the floor to help us resist that very strong and inevitable pull of gravity. Yeah. Let's educate our body to breathe by encouraging that attentive breath in and a breath out. And we'll take it back to a downward facing dog. Let's do that one more time. We're going to lift our heels high. Now notice as we lift those heels high how our weight just shifted forwards towards the front of our mat. Yeah, and feel how it shifts back into more of a central position as the heels go down. So the heels go up, it shifts our weight forward, and the heels press down, and it's more equal between hands and feet. And so that one more time. We'll lift the heels high, This round, bend our knees, take a peek at the top, and feel free to walk or hop towards your hands. Rounding, rolling, reaching arms up towards the sky. Let's take a rotation off to the right, back to center, over to the left. Frontwards we go, and we fold our way forward. Soft knees, hands touch down, feet step to your variation of a plank. And if you're in a high plank myself, I want you to think of pushing both feet and hands into the floor like you're trying to drive it away from you. And we can kind of exaggerate that movement just to get our back body involved. Taking a breath in and out. And it's a downward facing dog. We're going to lift our heels just to tap our knees down into a tabletop. From our tabletop, I think it's our left leg that goes back behind. Unsure if I'm actively mirroring you guys here in this camera or not. So we're going to say that's my left foot. I want you to keep the toes anchored and imagine that you're in a three-limbed plank. So you're now pushing the floor away with the palms as well as the foot. Yeah, and then we're just going to find a little pulse. So the heel is going to press down towards the floor and then somewhat lift up towards the sky. And if you want, you can even roll over the toes and let the top of your foot kind of get a minimal stretch there as well. And you can always rearrange the positioning of any and all limbs at any point throughout your practice. Yeah, now notice when your shoulders are stacked over the wrists, go ahead and pause. Creating very minimal range here. I'm going to ask you to lift your toes up just by about an inch. The body and mind often want to go super far, but we want to encourage more glute work here, more butt muscles to get involved. We're going to hover at just about an inch. Take a breath in and out. Then go ahead, bend your knee, pull your heel right towards your butt. Pull a thigh towards the belly, maybe around our spine, and try to take a step forward. From this position, back toes tuck. We're going to let our back knee hover, similar to that hovering tabletop. And that thing chest pulls towards the front. And then we'll step our back foot forward, finding our way into our first chair pose, which you can already see my mind is clearly looking for that sense of distraction as I immediately went to fix my hair and my shirt. And just kind of give yourself that opportunity to notice what comes up in these processes and these poses. They're quite revealing in nature. Now you're going to feel the heels push down and use that to drive yourself up tall. We'll take the arms up overhead. We'll twist off towards, we'll say the left, back to center, over to the right. Now let's come back to center. Up. Twisting off to the left, so you can feel your right heel up off the floor. Challenging our balance even further, perhaps we peel the whole right foot up off the mat. So that you can always give yourself permission and tap those toes back down as a way to find a sense of stability. Let's see if we can keep that right foot floating, come back to center. Go ahead, take a long step backwards with that right foot for a crescent lunge. Taking a moment to just hang out here as we encourage our front foot to be heavy, pressing firmly into the floor. Just noticing how that back leg is there to somewhat support you. Marinating within the shape while encouraging our body to fully breathe. We'll seek to decrease the effort by tipping our way forward, encouraging both hands to touch down, runner's lunge. Two palms plant, and that left foot steps back to your variation of a plank. Taking a round of breath, downward facing dog. Taking it right to our second side, we'll tap our knees down to the floor at tabletop. And our right leg goes back behind us, keeping those toes tucked. Think of that 3-limb plank. Try to push the whole floor away from you, encouraging more work through that back line body. And perhaps we pulse to the heel, driving it backwards and forward. If you want to take a step further, you can roll over the toes, kind of roll onto the top edge of your foot. Just checking in, recognizing when your shoulders are back over the wrist, we'll pause. Right, so think of that 3-limb plank. See if we can't hover our toes now about an inch from the floor. Taking a round of breath. We'll bend our knee, heel towards the butt, thigh to the belly, step that right foot forward. And back toe is stuck, back knee hovers. And we'll take our time stepping left foot forward for a chair pose. And if you want to, you might lift toes up, spread them nice and wide, keeping them spread as you encourage them to press back down. Steadying the breath. And just allowing yourself to be present to the experience that is created within our shapes. We get to drive down through our heels, use those strong legs, push our way up tall, keeping those arms high. Let's once again rotate off to the right, come back to center, twist the left. One more round through center, pause to the right, shift your weight to the right foot, see if you can hover left heel. Encouraging further balance, you might hover the whole foot up off the mat. Depend upon how you feel, you can always tap those toes back down if and when you need to. Back towards center. Take a nice long step back with that left foot, crescent lunge. Keeping in mind that you are never glued to the surface of the mat, so if you ever feel the need to rearrange or readjust the placement of your feet, or even decrease the effort physically by dropping the arms, please give yourself that freedom to do so. Anything front foot is heavy, back leg there to support. Noticing how the legs are doing all the work here. When we start to decrease the effort, we tip our upper body forward. Encourage 2 hands to touch down. Right foot steps to your plank position. And again, we're pushing the floor away, encouraging our body to breathe. Downward facing dog. From down dog, let's once again tap those knees to our mat. We'll keep our toes tucked, keep our torso lifted as we just seek to rock our hips towards our heels. Moving our way towards the back edge of our mat, our hands walk towards our knees. And we can push the floor away in an effort to lift our knees up off the mat. Hands might continue to walk closer towards our feet. And then we want to lift our hips, straighten our legs, and find that forward fold position. Hang out here for as long as you'd like. Perhaps soft knees, a little sway of the torso, shake out of the head. Arms can dangle heavy. You can grab opposite elbow with opposite hand. It's kind of making this pose your own. We'll seek to round and roll our way back up tall to stand. We'll go ahead and anchor hands at our heart center, encouraging our lips to seal while finding that round of breath in and out of our nose. And as we work on that nostril breathing, see if you can't start to encourage it to be more soft. Let the breath become gentle. Just let it become more natural. You need to relax the arms, relax the legs, perhaps pedal them out, grab a drink of water if you'd like to. So here we are at the back edge of our mat, what we would call it Tadasana or mountain pose. We've got fairly equal weight between both of our feet. I'm going to have us disrupt that just by rocking our way over to our right leg. We'll notice that the right leg starts to feel heavier. There's more body mass on top of it. And our left leg feels lighter. So we're going to encourage that left hip to hike and peel that left foot up off the floor, finding our balance. Yeah, but we can always check in depending on how we feel. We have the option always to tap our toes down, encouraging our nervous system to essentially feel safe and secure. And perhaps we take our balance a step further by asking our gaze to shift off to the right. And in a sense, we're challenging our proprioception, or our body's awareness of itself in space. And the effort through that right leg will absolutely start to increase. So again, if those toes need to tap down, you give yourself that permission. Let the gaze come back to center. Finding a stability point, we're going to park our toes down on the mat and let our left heel rest upon our right leg. So it's our kickstand tree. Left hip often likes to hike itself up, so we're just going to encourage that left hip to kind of push down for more of a neutral pelvis. And those arms might go high, expressing your branches. And again, depending upon how you feel here, you can challenge the shape just by shifting your gaze off to the right. And noticing the breath, noticing how the body responds and reacts. And come back to center. Perhaps we remove our point of contact by lifting our foot, say about an inch or so higher up our leg. Or we have the option again to hang out here, or challenge our balance just by shifting our gaze off to the right. Let's rotate gaze back to center. Perhaps we take it a step further, trying to slide that leg up, slide that foot up our leg, encouraging that left hip to press down. And again, opting to keep gaze forward, shift gaze off to the right, challenging your balance. Gaze comes back to center. Now let's keep the arms reaching, but let that left foot step directly in front of our right foot. So it's almost like we're on a bit of a balance beam. We're going to ask you to shift your weight evenly between both of those feet. If that's too much, you can always walk that left foot a little bit wider, broadening your base of support. And wherever you are, perhaps the hips veer off to the left, arms and torso veer off to the right, so we get a little bit of that side bend. But also, once again, you'll notice challenging our balance. Let's make our way back up tall, hands to the heart. Shifting our weight forward to our left foot. Right heel is going to pop up. We just want to pull that thigh up in towards our belly. From here, we're going to encourage a step forward, but as we step forward, I want both legs to essentially bend at the same time. So we've got a shorter stance, both legs in these 90-degree bends. Yeah, we can hang out here for a moment. We can encourage a little pulse, a little movement to build some sensation throughout that lower body. And see if we can't pause. Noticing once again how the body responds, but observing how our mind also reacts to that scenario, that situation, that experience. From here, we're going to ask our back knee to touch down. We got two ways to do that. We can go without the assist of any hands, or we can tap our hands down first and ask our back knee to anchor. Wherever we are, we can hang out there as we now encourage our left foot to pivot towards the right edge of our mat. So we'll notice that our hips are facing forward. We want them to pivot and face the left. So to gather that, we'd pick our left foot up, find that pivot point, and we're essentially in a kneeling variation of a warrior two. The right forearm anchors on the right thigh, left arm gets to reach up and over. going to keep our right forearm as it is. We're going to keep our left toes as they are. That reaching long left arm is going to tap down to the inside of our front foot as we peel our right arm high, guiding us into a twist. Take that right hand down, left toes reconnect back to our mat. Similar to what we did earlier, we want to tuck our back toes, hover our back knee, and see if we can't step that foot forward, connecting to yet another chair pose. And always giving yourself permission to decrease the effort physically if and when you need to, which might mean we let the arms relax. It might mean that we soften the legs to a slight degree. Finding that quote-unquote edge, whatever it might be for you in this moment. Strong heels, strong legs, take us up tall to stand. And perhaps we ask those arms of ours to reach up, up, hands to the heart. Their lips sealed, just encouraging a few rounds of breath in and out of our nose. And just for good measure, those arms go right back up overhead. Let's once again twist chest off to the right, encourage arms to go wide. Back to center, off to the left. Okay. Adding weight to our right leg, let your left heel hover. Perhaps the whole foot lifts up. And we can encourage left thigh drawing up in towards our belly. And again, we'll notice that the hips are facing forward. We want them to shine to face the left side of the room. So what we want to do is swing that left leg backwards. And sometimes it's a little awkward, a little wobbly, so again, don't hesitate, rearrange, readjust as you deem necessary. Gaze perhaps shifting to the front of the room, okay, pausing, just taking that time to marinate within a shape, building an experience for us to pay attention to. Right forearm anchors on the right thigh, left arm reaches up and over. And if we're to pay attention to the subtleties, we can notice that there's a ton of body mass pouring down on this front leg of ours. So let's see if we can't encourage that back leg to help out by pressing it firmly down in towards the mat. And with that back leg pressing down, we've got a nice anchor point to help encourage us to come back up tall to a warrior number 2. Going back to our hips, again, now they're facing to the left. We want them to face forward as we rock and swing that left leg into our active tree. Taking your time to get there, rearrange, readjust, find the amount of physical effort that you'd like to put into place. Own pace, let that left foot come down, those arms reach up towards the sky. We take the opportunity to fold our way forward. Soft knees, hands touch down. Let's go ahead and step back to a plank position. And again, everything's pushing the floor away. Top of the head's drawing forward. See if you can't commit to a round or 2 of breath before a downward facing dog. Knees touch down. Let's give ourselves an opportunity or permission to pause in a child's pose. If it feels nice, you can encourage your hips to rock from left to right. It was like giving my forehead that nice massage by also encouraging that to rock left to right. Because yoga is a whole lot of push, 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 let's see if we can incorporate a little bit of pull. We'll encourage our arms to walk themselves as far up our mat as they can go. Noticing how the elbows are now straight. We're going to try to glue the palms down in place and see if we can't pull our torso up into a tabletop. And rearrange hands and knees as needed. Back toes tuck. Hips anchor over the heels. Hands walk towards the knees. And now again, we can always use the assist of hands to push our knees up. Rock our way backwards if we wanted to. We can even try it without the assist of hands, which will probably be a little bit more awkward, wiggly, and wobbly. So standing tall in our Tadasana, once again at the back edge of our mat, and working towards our second side to balance ourselves out. So this round, we want to rock our way over to our left foot. Therefore, we're encourage our right heel to lift up. More body weight bearing down on that left leg. And at your own pace, perhaps we try to lift and hover the right foot up off the floor. And just kind of noticing all those little micro movements. Right? I like to think of it as your muscles kind of communicating, like they're readjusting from the stimulus that we've just provided it, or the feedback that we've provided our bodies. Right? We can opt to stay here, or we can challenge ourselves by shifting our gaze off to the left. Yes, again, always noticing how the body responds to every little subtlety that we are providing at every moment. Yeah, we want to anchor those toes down. Right heel presses against our left leg, so we have that sense of support here to start. Arms can go wide, up and high. And then we can pause. You can feel the subtle sway. So we can opt to keep our gaze forward. We can opt to shift it off to the left. And if we return it back to center, perhaps we encourage our foot to sort of glide itself up our leg about another inch. And our base of support has become smaller, so there will absolutely be more wiggles and wobbles. It's a way to confirm that you're human. Hang out here or glide that leg up even further. And maybe we try to hike that right hip down. Depending upon how you feel. Maybe this side feels good and you want to shift gaze off to the left. Knowing that A, you can always turn your gaze back forward. B, you can always tap your foot down and come back to our kickstand if and when needed. Now let's keep our arms high once again as we remove that right foot and park it in front of our left. Think of that balance beam, and can you shift both of your weight? Can you shift your weight onto both feet? Yeah. Now the hips get a little bit more involved with our sense of stability and balance. Then we can further challenge by moving our center of gravity by side bending off to the left. And your hips would veer over to the right. Let's come back up tall. Maybe we ask our hands to anchor themselves at the heart. Shifting our weight to our front foot. Notice the subtleties of moving our body mass, our body weight. Left thigh draws all the way up and in. We're going to encourage that foot to step its way forward. But we want both knees to bend roughly at the same time just to help kind of absorb some of that impact. So that it bends. And here we are with these 2 90-degree bends. If you feel like you're more on a balance beam here, please give yourself that permission to explore what your body might need on the mat. Widen the position, shorten the feet, widen the stance, lengthen. And maybe we'll work with that little pulse. Always optional. Maybe that knee tries to go a little bit lower. Kind of working different little muscles, different little areas. And see if we can't pause, marinate within that sensation that we've just built. A bit of fatigue sort of pulsing through our legs. Now to come down, we've got these 2 options. We can sort of elevate our way down, but if that doesn't feel accessible to you or super comfortable, go ahead and park your hands down first, give yourself that assist, and then ask your back knee to tap. Same thing as we try to transition our right toes off to the left. Sometimes people feel more comfortable having a hand or 2 on the ground to find that pivot connection. So you can always do it that way, or you can come up tall, pivot. Right now you notice that my foot is sort of close to my body. That gives me a little less stability. So I'm gonna walk my foot out. And think of that tall spine. Maybe a gentle tuck through my tailbone. And then when I feel ready, my left forearm would get to anchor. And it's my right arm that reaches up and over. My apologies for the view at this moment. And as we hold, just notice the shape. Can you feel how we're providing, say, a little stretch here through our side body? A little arc. We can enhance that side stretch. So we have a big breath in, getting some expansion, and a breath out. And then moving away from this frontal plane, we want to find more transverse. We're going to keep left forearm down, keep right toes as they are, but have your right hand touch down. And then the left arm goes high. And let's take that left hand down, give ourselves another sense of support. Right foot taps back. Let's see if we can't find that hovering tabletop position. So back toes tuck, back knee lifts. And then we'll step right foot next to the left, connecting to our favorite chair pose. And we notice that it's not necessarily the most comfiest of all chairs. Right? We're somewhat fatiguing all our muscles from our toes right up to our fingertips. Building, creating an experience while educating and reminding ourselves to breathe. Anchor down to the heels. Use those strong legs to push you up tall. Yeah, let's rotate off to the left. Back to center. Over to the right, pause. And notice the equal weight between both feet. Let it shift off to the left. We can start nice and slow by hovering the right heel. Perhaps hovering the right foot. Maybe we have to take that next step. Thigh coming up in towards the belly. Right, our hips are facing forward, but we want them to face the right side. So we essentially ask that right leg to swing its way backward into our warrior two. Left forearm taps your left thigh, right arm reaches up and over. And then kind of continue with the cues we found on the first side. Notice, can you feel all of the body mass over that front leg? And so maybe we ask that back leg to come in and help. Let it anchor itself down, down, down. And it's in that sense of anchorage in our core that will help pull us up back into our warrior two. And then a subtle twist, and we can take our time pulling that right foot up into any variation of a tree. Maybe we kickstand, maybe it's lower on our leg, maybe it's upper on our leg. Maybe we shift our gaze. And noticing that all natural sway to our own bodies in space. Confirming that nothing is ever static. Everything is always truly in flux. And that right foot taps down. And for a good measure, those arms go high. We get to fold our way forward. Two hands touch down. 2 feet step, high plank. And an effort to now decrease the effort. We've got 2 points of contact on our hands, 2 points of contact on our feet. Let's end up 6 point, 2 knees down. Just to check in, make sure we're not in a tabletop. We might walk our hands up, say about a whole inch forward. Maybe even walk a little bit closer to the side edges of our mat. An effort to re-rock our shoulders back over our wrists. Think of that kneeling plank position. Think of pushing everything up and away from the floor. Maintain that push even as we start to slowly pull our way down. It's that act of resisting gravity. Slow, slow, slow and steady as best as you can until you're down on your mat. I'm just going to scoop my way back. Let's see if we can't keep our hands roughly beside our chest, so our elbows are somewhat reaching up towards the ceiling. Maybe we get our legs involved by pressing down to the tops of our feet. You can think right where our shoelaces might be. Right, building our baby cobra. Let's see if we can't lift head and heart. Now you might recognize if you're guiding your way forward with your chin, you go ahead and tuck that chin and ask our chest or our sternum to tug forward. You'll notice that's a fairly minimal range of motion. We are somewhat limited within our thoracic extension or upper back bend already. And then everything can come down. Let's see if we can't do like a little head and heart lift. Right, so I'll tuck of the chin, chest pulls forward. And then everything rests. Let's try that one more time. Head and heart lift. Maybe we increase the effort, a little tented fingertip, so there's less support from our whole palm. And if that feels okay, maybe we release the whole position of our hand, encouraging more upper body work here, a bit more active in its nature. And then everything comes down. Let's try that one more time, holding that long pause. We're going to lift head and heart. Peel palms up off the mat. And see if maybe we can reach them back behind us. Let the palms slip down, we get a bit more external rotation through the shoulders. And then maybe we can remove another point of contact. You can ask our feet to lift. And in a sense, we're building communication as well as strength throughout all the muscles that surround our back body. The ones doing the work to help lift and defy the pull of gravity. And the longer we hold, you might notice some narratives of the mind, right? Observing the tone of voice or the word choice that is chosen. Seeing if we can't commit to some kindness towards the process. Let everything slowly come back down. And now we can hang out here. Or like we were on a little puppet strings, we might see if we can't slowly lift everything right back up. And perhaps we slowly let everything come back down. And see if we can't commit to that a few times around. Really focusing on that slow progression. Maybe there's one more pop-up with a longer hold. Let's put palms up towards the ceiling. Bend our elbows, bend our wrists. Try to snake them back into our baby cobra position. Hands touch down, feet touch down. Maybe we tuck our toes under. Press down to our knees and see if we want to push back into a tabletop, a kneeling plank, or a high plank. And so kind of choosing your path into a child's pose. And child's pose is just an act of giving ourselves permission to rest, to feel the effects of our practice and how it lands within the walls of our own body. Let's tap into those pulling muscles as we walk those arms up, up, up. Notice how we're increasing the stretch sensation here by building that sense of tension. And with our elbows straight, palms pushed down, which then means we have to pull our torso up. And then we're right back in our tabletop. We can thread perhaps a few rounds of any intuitive movement in this shape. And we'll just use this as a transition, finding our way down onto our back. So perhaps we swing our legs off to one side, walk our hands close towards our knees, come down, and then just sort of take our time rolling our way onto our mats. And because it feels nice sometimes, you can encourage our legs to reach long. Maybe your arms go up overhead. Think of that nice good morning stretch. And we'll ask the arms to relax down beside us. We'll bend our knees in an effort to plant both feet. Let's say once both feet have anchored, we'll take our right leg up towards the sky. And I want us to communicate just to our toes, which means we're going to ask our ankle to stay still, as well as our knee and our sort of upper leg. And perhaps we try to wiggle them first. Maybe we spread and soften, which tends to be a little bit more difficult. And a funny thing, sometimes when we talk to just our toes, our hands actively try to come in and help. So I just want you to notice and see if you can relax them. And then we'll tap into more of our ankle space. Let's see if we can't point and flex our foot a few times, providing it with its fullest range. And if we look at the way we point and flex, we can imagine that our foot is telling us yes. Let's ask our foot to tell us no. So next time your toes have pulled down and we're in this dorsiflexed position, see if your foot can kind of tell you no as you let it rock itself from left to right. And then we can try to tie all that together by finding more of a circular orientation. And if you go one way, we want to go the opposite way. We'll start to add more movement down to the hip. So we'll point our toes now and see if we can't trace circles with the entirety of that right leg. And then you can check in. Maybe those circles get a little bit bigger, broader, wider, lower, higher. And there's that challenge of trying to keep torso and hips somewhat stable throughout the process. And let's reverse the direction. Perhaps we keep them nice and big to start. And we can guide them a little bit smaller. And I'll take that right leg all the way down our mat. Pulling left thigh close in towards the belly and giving a nice little squeeze there. That sort of passive hold in what we would call hip flexion. Now let's see if we can't maintain the distance of thigh to belly as we ask our hands to release their grip. So now there's a bit more effort occurring throughout the legs, more muscle work to hold this active position. You can ask that left hip of ours to peel itself up off the floor, guiding that bent left leg across our body until we're in what we would call our spinal twist. And traditionally, I think we let that left arm wing out. But if you find that to be uncomfortable, you might let it rest next to you or sort of on top of your hip. I find it nice to reach it up overhead and just gain a little bit more of a stretch here through my left side body. And it tends to be in these more twisted position that you can really experience the fullness of the breath or how it expands and enhances a posture. And that left hip comes back to the mat. So we'll let that left foot come down. Let's sweep that right leg back up to the sky. Perhaps we ask our toes and our knees to somewhat turn towards the right side of the room, gaining what we would call external rotation, and somewhat minimal within its range. Then perhaps we turn the toes in, the knee towards the midline of the body to gain what we would call internal rotation of the hip. And let's find external one more time, which would then take us into our figure 4. I'm going to encourage us to forego the assist of our hands if we wanted to. Actively pull both thighs in towards our belly. Maybe there's some movement to the ankle space, the toes. And we'll park left foot back, and the right foot goes down. Right, while we're here, let's come on up into a bridge, but see if we can't articulate our way up. So I'm going to encourage you to press down through your low back. So a very small range of movement. You're going to see if you can lift just your hips. And it may even feel like you're not moving at all. So think low back's pressing down, hips are lifting up. Then we might try to peel low back off the floor. Continue to articulate. The mid back might come up. Maybe part of the upper back until you're in the height that is most accessible or comfortable for you. Let's see if we can draw some awareness again to our spine, to our back body as we articulate our way back down. Think of rolling upper back, rounding and rolling mid back. More challenging, especially for myself, is to round and roll low back. And then see if I can't let the hips touch down. Last. Yeah, and then we'll ask our left leg to go high. Same thing, we're going to start with the toes. We want to try to keep ankle stable, ankle still, knee still, hip still. Try to articulate any movement right into our toes. Communicating to an area that is far often forgotten about. Notice the fingers, try to let them rest. And then we'll talk to one of our ankle joint with a point and flex. Kind of recognize how it's telling you yes at the moment. And see if we can't ask our foot to now tell us no. Tying all that together. And as you start to articulate the rotations, let it be a bit more mindful, which means we encourage it to slow down. Really experiencing our own ankle joint, whether there's areas of hesitation or shakiness. Yeah, so we'll kind of go down a bit further. We'll point our toes, see if we can't trace little circles with that leg. And if you wanted to, again, those circles can get bigger, broader, wider. Perhaps there's more support at this point through the palms. Pressing them firmly down to give you a sense of anchor points. Let's reverse the direction. Maybe they start to get smaller. And we didn't do it on the first side, but maybe we ask this left leg to go down nice and slow. There might be a little bit more rounding through the low back. And we can kind of take our time resisting the pull of gravity as we encourage left leg to come down, 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 down to the floor. All moving at our own pace. When your heel is anchored, let that left leg relax. We'll pull the right thigh in. Give it a nice little squeeze. See if we can hold that same distance by letting go. We'll start to feel a little bit more work coming through the muscles. Take a big breath in and out. And let's ask that right hip to lift up off the floor. Drag that right leg across the body. And then just kind of explore where you want that right arm to rest on this side. Doesn't always have to mirror or mimic the first side. And let's let that right hip drive itself back. We'll actively plant that right foot and see if we can't take our time lifting our left leg back up towards the ceiling. Take a moment to pull the toes down, push up through your heels, find that ankle dorsiflexion, and see if we can't guide our leg to face outward to the left, external rotation. And then see if we can't pivot knee, toes towards the midline of the body. Gaining more internal rotation from that left hip. External rotation one more time, noticing how that guides us into our figure 4. If we can, go without the assist of hands as we actively pull our thigh in close towards our belly. Maybe there's some movement again through the toes, the ankles. And let's see if we can actively plant. Right foot down, left foot down. Just kind of slowly winding our way down. Our knees might gently rock themselves from side to side here. And giving ourselves permission to settle into our final resting shape. That might be our feet anchored. It could be our legs long down our mat. It could be more Supta Baddha Konasana position of the legs. I always like to offer up the suggestion to roll onto your side or even on your belly as we seek to find a sense of comfort in our last pose, using any props that you might like, and just giving ourselves permission to rest and restore as we soak up all the benefits from our practice. And it's an act of marinating once again within a shape as we encourage whatever stillness we can provide ourselves. We'll give ourselves a short little Shavasana here as we let our shoulders kind of be heavy, hips be heavy. Find a sense of lightness to the belly, to your chest. See if you